All right, so we want to do number 9.1, sorry, number 47 out of 9.1, which says reduce to lowest terms, right? And then it also says some BS about assume that variables have been restricted to blah, blah, blah. You guys notice that?
Yeah, whatever that thing was.
Yeah, it says assume that variables have been restricted so that as to prevent division by 0 or something.
Oh, I saw it.
That's so you don't have to worry about this changing the domain thing, right? Because these are really only equal when you're not dividing by 0. Okay? So let's fiddle through this and I'll highlight that again when we do it. So how do you start these? With full-on panic, right?
Oh, you have to undo.
Yeah, you got to factor some stuff, right? So I would try factor everything out as much as you can. The same way we would do this with numbers, right? We look to see what divides into the top and the bottom, and then we'd cancel it, right? So here, I don't know, I'm a little bit at a loss as to what divides into the top and the bottom. But maybe I could spot something easy. What's the easiest thing I could notice about this?
7 on the bottom.
Yeah, I can pull a 7 out of the bottom. That's a great start because it gets me at least writing things. So once I pull a 7 out, what am I left with? 2x plus 3y, right?
Yep.
And I'm not going to draw arrows on these problems because all the arrows on these are going to read factor. Okay, so I factored a 7 out of the bottom. What should I try to do to the top? I'm liking the shaking of the head action. Don't do anything to it just yet. Just write it down again. One thing at a time. Don't try to do too many steps. You'll get a little bit lost. Okay, so at this point, do I see anything else that I can factor out of the bottom? No, and in fact, you can't get anything else out of the bottom. What do you think about the top?
X and Y.
Yeah, there's X's and Y's, right?
Get those out of
Which makes this scary. Oh, I could try to factor an X out of these two pieces and a Y out of those two, right?
Yeah.
That's going to be a little problematic. You guys see why?
Oh,
Yeah, because I'd have to have parentheses around these guys to get the Y out, and I'd have to have parentheses around these guys to get the X out. And to be honest, I don't know what the heck this would mean.
yeah. All right.
Right? You see that? I'd have to group them both, and I don't really know how to do that. So what do I do instead? What did I tell you one of the keys to success was here? Factoring with what method?
AC.
Yeah, the AC factoring method. So you guys want to review the AC factoring method and I'll do that on this?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the AC factoring method start with?
Parentheses, 2 sets of parentheses.
Good call. Okay, so maybe let's just separate this. So I'm just going to run AC factor on the top. Cool. So I've got my 4x squared plus 12xy plus 9y squared. That's just the top. Okay, now I want to say that this is equal to something with 2 sets of parentheses.
Yeah.
Don't start here. This method works really well for when A is 1.
Right.
When A isn't 1, you want to do something just a touch more complicated. So I'm going to say let's not start with these. Let's start with A times C, right? So what's AC in this case?
36.
People see that? Okay, so I'm looking for two numbers, right? They multiply to 36 and add to 12. Okay, so I might take 36 and say, okay, what multiplies to 36? 6 and 6. 1 and 36. 3 and 12. What else? Okay, so what do these add to? So what are the possibilities of adding 4 and 9? You can get either 13 or 5, right? So that one's not going to work. For 3 and 12, what can you get? 15 or 9, not going to work. 1 and 36, definitely not going to work, right? 36 is way too big. 6 and 6 makes 12. Cool. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 12 and I'm going to think about it as 6 plus 6. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this thing as 4x squared plus 6xy plus 6xy plus 9y squared. Okay, see that? Really, this step is all think about 12xy is 6xy plus 6xy. You guys all see that? This is how the AC method always goes. You multiply A and C together. You look for something, a pair of numbers that multiply to that and add to the middle. And then you replace the middle with that pair of numbers. That's cool. Make sure you get the signs right. Okay, now what?
Factoring the two pairs together.
Yeah, so now factor by grouping on these two pairs. So what's the most you can get out of this piece?
2x.
You guys all see that? So I can get a 2x, and what am I left with?
2x plus 3y.
A 2x plus 3y. That's this piece. You guys playing along? Okay, then this piece, I can get a 3y out. What am I left with? Cool, 2x plus 3y. What are you noticing right now? Yeah, they're similar, right? These are the same thing. See that? What's the symbol that's supposed to go here?
Plus.
Plus. Okay, so this step was factor by grouping. Okay, so once I factor by grouping, what do I do now?
Rewrite the problem together, okay, it's not.
Close.
You have 2x plus 3y next to 2x plus 3y, right?
Yeah.
You take the two outside pieces.
You guys see that? I've got 2x times some blue stuff
Oh, that's right.
plus 3y times some blue stuff. So I can factor the blue stuff out, right? Or I could think about this is 2x of whatever the blue stuff represents plus 3y of whatever the blue stuff represents. So all told, there's 2x plus 3y of the blue stuff. You guys see that? Either way, that's going to result in, oops, not that color marker. Either way, that's going to result in you getting 2x plus 3y times 2x plus 3y.
Okay.
And one of these is kind of tagged blue. Okay, see that? So what was that step? Like a factor 2x plus 3y out, the blue one. You guys all see that? How about if I phrase it like this? You had 2x sheep, and then 3y sheep showed up. All told, how many sheep are there? 2x plus 3y, right?
Yeah.
As confusing as that is as a number, it's just a quantity of sheep, right? In this case, the sheep that I'm counting are these blue underlined things. So here's 2x of them, there's 3y of them. When I count them all together, there's 2x plus 3y of the thing I'm talking about.
So you don't have the 6xy anywhere?
Yeah, where'd the 6xy go? Where'd the 6xy's go? They seem like they disappeared, right?
No,
Yeah, I need to multiply the stuff in these brackets, right?
right.
So the FOIL method, right, is what I need to multiply. So when I FOIL these together, I get the 4x squared out of the first, the 9y squared out of the last, and both those 6xy's out of the outside and the inside.
Okay.
You guys see that? Really, all the AC method is a complicated method to unfoil.
Yeah.
And the reason it's complicated is that unfoiling is kind of weird because there's lots of ways to make that middle term. Right? There's lots of O and I things that could be there. So you have to do a good job picking them. That's what this 6 and 6 adds to 12 thing was. That was picking cleverly our O and I.
I just don't get it. Is that, I don't, this is like, I can't.
Cool? Okay. All right, so now that I've factored this thing, what do I do with that information?
Now you can cancel out.
Yeah, I want to put this in for the top over there, right? Okay, so from way back at the beginning here, I've got a 2x plus 3y times a 2x plus 3y over 7 times 2x plus 3y. Right?
Right. So you can cancel the one of them.
So we can notice that this stuff, right,
It's the same.
is multiplication by 1. Right? Right here.
Yeah, you cross them out.
That's multiplication by 1, so I don't need to write it. So what do I get after I don't write it?
Just that.
I get 2x plus 3y
Over 7.
over 7. You guys see that? Okay, the thing about restricting variables is that really here, from here to here, I changed the domain a little bit. Because over here, I wasn't allowed to put in x's and y's that made 2x plus 3y 0, right? But over here, I have no such problem. You guys see that? So there is a concern there about, as functions, this thing and this thing aren't quite the same. They are off of where 2x plus 3y is 0. You guys see that? They just kind of mumble that thing, and I just want you to know it's about functions. Cool? Any other questions on this? Did anybody see the other thing you could have done here?
Could you look like, I mean, like the beginning kind of, could you have that all kind of like, I don't know if you can, but, because I just kind of did it, but it doesn't really work because then you have like a 6y thing, but like take the 3 and then put it into the 9y squared, so you get 3y.
Yeah, so you're, great question. That's totally a false cancel.
Okay.
So the reason that you're not allowed to cancel the 3y and one of the 3y's in here is that there's this grouping symbol, right? So order of operations tells me I have to do these additions first,
Okay.
and that multiplication takes second place.
Okay.
You guys all see that? So yeah, that's a thing I call a false cancel. I'm going to yell at you. Yeah. The other thing that you could have noticed is this whole guy here. I will occasionally make this noise again. You guys know what this stands for? Yeah, awesome. This is a perfect square trinomial. You guys know what that is?
3y and 3y.
It's one of these things that's made out of something plus something squared. Right? They always have this special form. You guys recognize that? That PST thing is this if you take something with a square plus a triangle and square it, you always get out of this square squared out of the first terms, right? Triangle squared out of the lasts. And what are your outside and inside?
Square triangle?
Yeah, they're both square triangle and there's two of them, right? So if you see a form where there's something squared on one end, something squared on the other, and twice the somethings multiplied together in the middle, you're looking at a perfect square trinomial, and you can just pop it into this form right away. That would be a bit hard to notice here, right? Because I'd have to notice
You have
that,
to look for it, yeah.
yeah, I'd have to notice that 4x squared is 2x all squared, and that 9y squared is 3y all squared, and then that 12xy is 2 times 2x times 3y. You guys see that? Those are super harsh to spot when the ends aren't just x squared and y squared. If you look, spend just 2 seconds looking for these, sometimes it can save you this hassle. Right? But don't sweat it if you don't see them all the time. Other questions? Cool.